It's a great pleasure to bring you this video with the founder of Seedstarter, Jesse Hynes. He's going to explain how to participate in his new platform that is going to allow the non-accredited investor to invest in startups. It's a regulated environment, and you can do so for as little as $25 US. Jesse has a strong mission to bring opportunity to the 90% who have been previously kept out. In addition, if you are wanting to start a company and you would like to have 5,000 investors as opposed to just one venture capitalist, learn how a community could be the answer for your seed capital. I can't wait to see the new business models, especially those that leverage blockchain. Enjoy. And I've got a special guest with me today. This is Jesse, and Jesse Hynes is in the community, has been in the community for a very long time. He is one of the attorneys that gives great contrarian insight and also is able to really be an asset when it comes to the community leaning on a mind that has some value when it comes to the legalities of the United States, because he practices in the US. You've got something going on. The reason why we are together is because you have launched something that is very unique and has a tremendous amount of opportunity to give other people an opportunity. And I really would love to give you a chance to explain to everybody what it is you're doing.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you. And thanks for the introduction. The contrarian, funny, but a lot of people feel that way. Yeah. So I'm starting and just launched a startup. It's called Seedstarter. It's technically called a funding portal, but what it really is an equity crowdfunding platform, which is really just a way that small businesses, whether they're startups, whether they've raised money before, just as long as they're not public and they haven't IPO'd, can raise money in a different way. You know, the traditional way in which a company might raise money would be a VC, a venture capitalist, you know, whether you know somebody or, you know, you're connected in some sort of way. And you raise money through the accredited investor, you know, the rich individuals who then have a good amount of say in your product, your platform, your company. Whereas an equity crowdfunding platform is meant to allow you to raise money from the world, you know, the community as a whole, the regular people, the unaccredited investor. And the point of this is really to make sure that everybody has the same opportunity that are provided to the 1%, you know, whether it's just the regular individual who wants to get into an early startup, you know, the potential to get into a unicorn before they're public and all the money is made, or you're a company who just says, hey, you know, I don't want to just raise with those VCs. I don't want to have, you know, these rich 1% have control of my company. I'd rather go to the people, you know, kind of like the idea behind blockchain and have them fund my project.
So when somebody takes a position, how are they doing it on this platform?
Yeah, so, you know, there's the two parties on this side, and there's the issuer, you know, the company that's looking to raise money, and then there's the investor, you know, the regular people, whether they're accredited or unaccredited. So the issuer is a company. They'll come to me and they'll submit an application saying, hey, you know, we want to raise funds, and they'll let me know what that is. So we allow them to raise under two different umbrellas of securities laws right now. The Reg CF is kind of the bread and butter of what this my platform will do. The companies that are looking to raise up to 5 million, it's a more simple filing and it's a more simple, you know, updated process. So that company comes to my platform. They say, hey, look, you know, this is our product. This is our project. This is our offering. This is the company. You kind of detail whether you've had sales or revenue to date, your employees, any investors you may have, you know, basically all this information that would give the regular person the ability to make a decision as to whether or not they want to invest in you. And then the investor sees that and they look at that and they say, okay, well, I wanna invest in this company, or I don't. And that's kind of the interplay of company comes on, provides information, investor is allowed to look at it all and then make their determination about whether they're going to invest in that product.
So as a platform, are you doing the preliminary due diligence on these companies to try, or is it free and open to anybody who wants to list?
So ultimately, it's going to be free and open. There's always going to be a level of diligence, right? So I'm going to be doing things as simple as Google checks, additional background checks, to make sure that we're not dealing with individuals who are known scammers or who have engaged in fraud before. I do have a diligence requirement where I do actually have to get these founders information, do the KYC, the know your customer, and look into them. But it's very preliminary, and it's limited in terms of, make sure they haven't been previously engaged in fraudulent activities that they've been prosecuted for, right? You can't weed out every single individual who's been fraudulent before, because unfortunately a lot of people get away with that kind of stuff. But so doing that type of diligence. But other than that, it's going to be a platform where most companies can come, or most individuals who want to create a startup can come, and will be able to put their project on it for others to invest in.
So if I choose to invest in a company that's listed on your platform, what are the rewards back to me? Is it an equity position? Is it a revenue share? How am I rewarded?
Sure. So that's the great thing about this is it's going to be company dependent. A company who comes on the platform is going to be able to decide what type of security. So these are intentionally offered securities, and we can talk about that in a bit. But what type of security they want to offer? It could be direct stock. So you could become a stock owner in the company. It could be what's called a SAFE, which is, it's a future equity agreement where upon some event happening, you now have stock. What I'm really pushing for, I can't decide what issuers, what companies decide, sell or list on the issue on the platform. But what I'm most excited about is the idea of a revenue share and finding business models where revenue shares make sense, because it allows you to actually be a passive investor in a company and actually receive revenue based on how they do. Because, being a stock owner is great. But let's say you're a stock owner in a company that never goes public. You might not ever find liquidity. You might not ever be able to find a way to actually sell what you have. So you might be rich on paper, but be unable to do anything with that. But when you have a revenue share, if that company is successful, it doesn't matter whether public, private, doesn't matter whether they have any intention of taking investment on. It's if they're making money, you're making money as well. There's other type of debt instruments as well that are issued, but it's all different kinds of securities, and it's really going to be up to the company to state that. And you as a buyer will know exactly what they're offering, because it will be prevalent and present on the page. All the filings will be there, and it'll be basically in your face.
So what happens if the idea sounded good on paper and it's put out as an opportunity for investment, but it doesn't reach its goal? In other words, this company says, well, we really need to have a minimum of $1 million to execute on our defined goals here, and it only can raise 500,000. So that it probably can't successfully complete its goals. Is it then removed from the platform and the money is given back to the initial investors? How does that work out?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's going to be an important one for companies that are going to be issuing on the platform to make that determination of, they're going to say, okay, these are my minimum funding goals. Let's say it's $100,000, or like you said, $500,000 or $1 million. Now you can raise up to 5 million if you go Reg CF, but let's say you say, okay, I'm shooting for 5 million, but I'm okay with 250,000 or more, and this is why. You kind of list that out. If you don't meet that 250,000, and you can set a time period, it could be a 1 week that you have to get there. It could be a month. It's really up to you. Then everybody who's invested will get their money back. and not minus any fees. You get exactly what you put into it. So, it's not great. Obviously, you want these companies to be successful and you want them to meet their fundraising goals. But if they have a failed offering, they don't meet the amount, the bare minimum, then yeah, everybody just gets their money back.
Are you looking for a specific type of investment to come to the platform? Are you going to focus? Are you focusing on blockchain companies, or are you focusing on anything and everything that makes sense?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm a avid blockchain advocate, right? I believe in blockchain being a part of the future, right? When people say blockchain is the future, that's kind of an odd thing to say, but I believe it's part of the future where necessary. I think there's a lot of avenues where blockchain can really be implemented and can make businesses better. So I am looking for businesses that are incorporating blockchain, not specifically crypto companies or blockchain companies, but businesses that want to incorporate blockchain. And I think that's extremely exciting. The kinds of things you can do with blockchain, having securities issued on blockchain, having security tokens and all that. But I'm not saying no to any company can come and raise. Whether it's just a regular startup, it could be a mom and pop shop, where I don't know, they run a laundromat, and for whatever reason, people think, hey, I can make money off of this laundromat. Now, I'm not saying that's a good example, but it's a possibility. Um, but so there isn't really, the one primary focus. The primary focus is startup companies. I want as many startup companies to come to the platform, but I am probably going to be doing a lot of my marketing and a lot of my targeted, focus issuers, in the blockchain space, or in spaces where blockchain can really change how things are done. So an example would be like the music industry. I really do think that royalties are an important facet of what musicians and artists can offer. And I really do think that blockchain is a great way to issue royalties in terms of it's just easily traceable. And, depending on what ledgers you use, you can actually issue the royalties directly in whatever currency people want, depending, like I said, depending on what ledger you use. And that's where blockchain can really change that. But so things like like music, or even companies that are creating film studios, they're going to film that are going to fund film projects. That's a really cool type of thing that I really want to bring to my platform. Or YouTubers who say, look, I like getting revenue from YouTube or whatever my social media is that's paying me revenue, but I want to build my brand. And the best way to build my brand is to raise money today, use that money to market myself or whatever, and then provide a revenue stream. So it's hard to say, exactly who I'm targeting. I am focused in on small businesses, obviously, but I think the biggest market I want to go after is different areas of the royalty market.
For the most part, are any idea from any country can participate?
So yeah, you look at it in two different ways. There's the issuers and there's the investors. The companies that are issuing right now, they have to be US based. My goal is to, each country has its own laws. And, just because I'm licensed by FINRA and the SEC in the US, my platform has those licenses here, doesn't mean I can go, to England or Germany or wherever else, and start to offer my platform. The stage two for me is I plan on going to the EU. And they have recently passed new regulations where if you get licensed in one country in the EU, you can actually operate around the EU, and then moving country to country from there. But for right now, it's only US based companies. But with that said, you could have a company based in another country who issues through a funding portal if they're willing to put a part of their business in the US. If they're willing to move a piece of their business into the US, you can do that there, but that's tough. And there's a lot to be talked about in that avenue. As for the investors on the other side, you can be located anywhere other than, like you said, what are OFAC sanctioned countries, countries that the government has basically said, look, we can't deal with these people or these countries. And Iran, Russia are some of the examples of countries that like investors can't participate on the platform.
With the overall mission in mind, what is it?
Yeah, so there were two things that really drove me to create this platform, and the first is that unaccredited investors, people who don't have a lot of money, really don't get the opportunities that the rich individuals have, and so for a lot of companies, they don't get to invest in them or partake in them until that company has IPO'd and gone public. And if you look at most IPOs, you'll see a company has gone up, up, up in value, and then it dumps immediately at the issuance in the stock market. And the little people who finally get involved basically lose a lot, and now they're holding for a long time, hoping to make money. And this has been pretty bad. It's a pretty bad system where only the rich get the opportunity to get early into these investments. And the logic of the U.S. government and all the other governments was that, well, they don't have enough money to make these risky decisions, and that's kind of like, I don't know, playing their parents and saying, look, you're poor, so you're not smart enough to make decisions. And to me, that drives me crazy, right? Just because you're poor doesn't mean you're not intelligent. And giving people these opportunities that they're just traditionally not given to actually change their life, and make smart decisions, right? But the second thing that's really driven me to this area is, I've been in the blockchain space. I worked for blockchain companies and with blockchain companies. And what I've seen a lot of is blockchain is changing the way that we do everything. And one of the biggest things that it changed is that it gave companies an opportunity to fundraise, to raise money for their company outside of the traditional VC route. And that's exciting, right? They've sold tokens, they've sold NFTs and things like that. And, in a perfect world, we should be able to just call it there and say, okay, this is great. We're giving the unaccredited investors a new way into investing in these companies. The problem is that a lot of these companies have actually taken advantage of these people, through their own greed, and have sold whether it's NFTs or tokens, with no actual intention of fulfilling their promises, with no actual intention of doing good for those people. Because realistically speaking, they sold you these things without, any kind of legal guarantees or any kind of regulatory body supporting you as that investor. Now you have the SEC coming, and they're really coming hard at a lot of blockchain, and we can talk about whether that's good or bad. But what's most important is that a lot of people who have bought things, a lot of people who've spent a lot of money, don't have any protections. And so when I fuse the unaccredited investor getting involved in investing and the fundraising in blockchain, those two things, put together, brought me here. This is the best way right now. You can offer a compliant solution, one that's protected, by regulators, where the unaccredited investor can invest in a product, can invest in a project and a platform, but also where blockchain can really come into play and fundraising a company can come into play.
You have a token that's going to facilitate some utility for this to really work well. Can you explain how that works?
Yeah, so this I'm really excited about, because it's a part of my platform, and I'm introducing blockchain into the platform. It doesn't need to exist for the platform to continue, but I mentioned before that one target market that I really wanted to go after is royalties. Companies using royalties rather than stock, to fundraise. A cryptocurrency token that's registered and filed with the SEC that gives holders a revenue, a direct gross revenue, not net revenue, so not minus expenses, a direct gross revenue on my platform. So if my platform does well, those holders get a percentage of my income. If my platform doesn't do well, right, then unfortunately you don't get anything. But the hope is that we all grow together. So the people who invest in the platform itself will make a percentage of the revenue that the company makes. And also there's going to be other things baked into it, like governance, where users who decide that they want to lock up their tokens and engage in governance, which helps our platform to make decisions, will actually be getting more token, in response for locking up and governing. And there's some burning mechanisms and buyback mechanisms where, because it's a security, because it's intentionally offered as a security, unfortunately, that means the secondary market is limited. And we're going to do some things that so that we can create a secondary market in the future. But to begin with, there isn't really going to be a secondary market. If you buy tokens, you might not be able to sell them. Even though you have a royalty interest in the company, you might be making money if the company's successful. You might not be able to sell that to somebody else if you want to get out. So we're going to be having our own buybacks. That's dependent on how successful the company is. If the company is successful, if there's more issuances on the issuers on the platform, then and successful raises, we'll be buying back tokens from those who want to sell it at a more expensive or at a profit from what they bought it for. So this is exciting to me. The idea of creating a royalty interest. People will probably call me crazy because most companies, they could get away with just selling a safe, which is basically saying, hey, give me money now, and in the future, you might have equity in my company, or selling stock where you may never distribute any kind of dividends to your holders. And if you have no intention of going public, they might be left literally holding the bag. In this situation, I am saying, hey, if my platform grows, you grow with me. If we're a community together, we're investors in this whole thing together. Let's find success together. The goal is to, if you look at the trajectories of other companies who have been kind of involved in the space, from when they first launched their funding portal, maybe the first year to $10 million was raised to their platform. But 5 years later, these platforms are having 300, $400 million raised. So that's really the goal. Is we're looking for 3 years from now, 4 years from now, and I really hope that my platform can have at that point, 500 million going through the platform in a year.
Sometimes these VCs and incubators will give ancillary support, whether it be legal support, marketing support, hiring support. Do you see the Seedstarter as having some sort of role in other aspects of those businesses to help them along, because more like an incubator might do?
Yeah, well, I think that's kind of part of the coolest thing about why I'm having a token is when you create a token that has people directly invested in your success, you've created a large community, right? A community of people who want to see not just your platform succeed, but any company who issues on your platform to succeed. So that's step one, is we are kind of creating a community where uh, issuers will come, and you already have that set group of people who are involved, who want everything to be successful, who want to be involved more. In addition, there is going to be marketing support, but the issue is that this is a regulated entity, and marketing is extremely limited in terms of once something gets offered on the platform, the communications actually have to stay on the platform. You can't really do too much. Now we'll have press releases saying, look, this is what's coming to our platform. We'll have Twitter posts, we'll have Discord posts, we'll put it everywhere else. But a lot of that conversation thereafter is going to have to happen on the platform. Hiring is an odd thing, where I'm probably not going to get that involved in that early days. Might create a network of, hey, these are individuals in the community who are looking for jobs, and maybe I'll will allow that to be fostered, where that might be a pretty cool talent pool of for companies to look at. But I'm probably not going to get too involved on the day-to-day of helping companies hire. But if they have questions, I'm obviously always there to assist. Well, what would be really cool actually is if the companies that raise on my platform start to work together, right? They're all partners in a common goal at the end of the day. And you might have that group of a company that's like a group of engineers that focus on doing work for hire, seeking a raise, and then you might have a platform that is like a blockchain music, the next iTunes, or whatever, the next Spotify, and they might need developers, and then you have developers there that have raised. But that would be really cool. Or like I said, it would be really cool to watch the community say, maybe have a section of the Discord being like, drop your resume. Let the companies that are raising on the platform see who you are and learn more about you. But a lot of that, if you really think about it, it happens in a Discord itself, right? So like when I worked for, recently worked for a blockchain company, I got to know them through their Discord, and they got to know me through the Discord. I didn't go the traditional hiring route. I became a part of the community. And the idea of creating a community where issuers are going to say, hey, look, if I want my company, if I want my raise to be successful, I have to talk to people, right? And if we do foster this great Discord community, they'll get used to these people, get to know these people, and hopefully we'll, if any of them are looking for jobs, there'll be good relationships fostered from that.
When they do want to purchase a token and take some, let's just say, an equity position in your platform's vision, is there a minimum amount of tokens that can be purchased? And do they buy directly from you? And how do they pay? I mean, are you taking Stripe, or do you have to use a crypto, or can I use US dollars? Those kinds of questions that I'm sure run through people's mind.
Yeah, yeah. So the goal right now is that, and this goes for anything in the platform, the minimum is $25. So anybody can invest at a minimum $25, at a maximum, whatever you want. Obviously, if a company is trying to raise $1 million, you can invest 1.5 million, right? And as for how somebody can pay, a lot of it is still up in the air. We're still working. Obviously the SEC has to approve a lot of these things. But the intention right now is USD, credit card, so whether it's credit card or bank transfer. And we do have the goal, and I do believe it's going to happen. We just have to get approval on it, of cryptocurrency payments getting accepted, for the investment in the token. But that's good. It has to work in a weird way. And the reason that I say that is, let's say that for whatever reason, before the round closes. So let's say that I leave it open for 2 weeks, and somebody puts money in and they want to pull money in, pull out. They decide they don't want to be invested in the token a day before close. They're allowed to. Now, if you invested in Bitcoin, Bitcoin fluctuates a lot more than USD does, right? And you don't have many banks, or any banks, that really want to custody things like Bitcoin, but they will custody USD. So what we have to do in that situation is we put a payment provider on the front end that takes whatever you want to send, whether it's XRP, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and it auto converts it to USD right away. So my platform gets the USD, it holds on to the USD into the close. If you decide you don't want to be invested anymore, unfortunately, the only thing we can do is give you back that same amount of USD. You're not going to get the Bitcoin that you gave back, the Ethereum, the XRP, whatever. It's going to be the same value of USD that you gave us. So that's the only intricacy that happens with cryptocurrency.
Is there a way that after a year I decide that I don't want to participate anymore? Is there a way to find liquidity for that token that I bought a year later?
Yeah, so I mean, this happens with all kind of startup investing, right? Like if you get involved in a company early and you buy stock, so let's expand it past just the token that we have going for the platform. If you buy stock, there might not be a market for it, and that's the issue. But what we're doing with the token is it's twofold. One is we're doing buybacks. So every issuer who comes to the platform is going to pay a fee to be able to issue on the platform. We're going to take half of that fee, and we're going to start buying back from token holders who want to sell their token at an increased price. So that's one part, and that's all broken down in the green paper. I don't want to get too much into the details of what we're buying back for and all that, but you can see it all there. The other is that it's our goal. I mentioned one of our future goals is to expand into other countries. Another goal is once we do get funding, assuming that the token sale is successful, we're going to be applying for our broker-dealer license in a subsidiary, not in the same company, but applying for the broker-dealer license so that we can create our own secondary market for the token. Now, we can't guarantee this is ever going to work out, but we want to create a platform that allows people to be able to trade the token amongst each other or other investors who have gone through the KYC screening, who have done the KYC, AML, and all that to be able to buy and sell from each other like a marketplace. But other than that, we can only it can only get sold on platforms that are registered broker dealers and things like that that will accept it. So it's a it's a risky endeavor. It may not you may not ever have a market for it, but our goal is to try to find those opportunities. I haven't seen anything negative yet. People are going to find something to be negative about, and I'd love for them to tag me in that or join my Discord and talk to me about why, what your thoughts are, and then we can have a conversation from there. I'd love to either be told why I'm wrong, which would then help me to change my business model, right? If somebody comes along and they look at what I'm doing and they say, Jesse, you missed something massive or there's something wrong with what you're doing, I'd rather know now and be able to look at it and adjust it. But also I like to have the opportunity to have these conversations with people and open their mind up to what we're doing here. Because we are doing something that no one's really doing. I haven't seen anyone issue a royalty token on the blockchain. I don't see that many people trying to crowdfund their platforms, especially blockchain companies, in the most compliant of ways. So it's an exciting thing, and I love to talk about it. So I want to hear the good and the bad because it just allows me to talk about it more.
So there is a community that has formed already, and it's on Discord, right? Do you want to invite people to that Discord? Is that something you're trying to grow, or is it a closed group right now?
No. So it was closed up until I think about a week ago. Finally opened it up. Would love for everyone and anyone to come. Right now it's early days, right? So there's not too much to talk about, but the more people that come, the more things there are to talk about, the more questions and answers. Because right now, if you go to our Discord, you'll see it's a group of people who have been in it in a closed Discord for a while, and they've heard it all. We've talked about it all, so it's all been kind of talked about. But at this point, I think it's time to start adding new people to be able to have these conversations over again, and then see what the greater majority really thinks about what we're doing.
Is there an invite link that someone can capture, or how is it what's the best way to find you?
Sure. Yeah, I'll give you, I can give you the invite link at the end of this, and you can add it to the video if you're interested. Otherwise, we can link the company Twitter, which is at Join Seedstarter. Under that, there's the Discord link, I believe, in the bio. If not, I'll make sure to add it to it. But yeah, you can find it all over our Twitter, and basically every post that we make, there's an invite link to the Discord.
Great. So it looks like August or September things will start to get very active.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that the goal is to launch a couple of companies that want to go and fundraise, on the platform, maybe in June. And I'm really excited. I wish I could talk about the companies I've been talking to, but there's some really cool things that are coming. So I think that's going to cause maybe a little bit of chatter and a little bit of conversation. But as for like the getting involved, getting invested in the platform itself, yeah, we're looking maybe August or September. It's really going to depend on the SEC.
Do you still have room on your plate for people to talk to you if they have an idea that they think will fit well on your platform?
Oh yeah.
Are you okay? Yeah. Is people can contact you?
Yeah, please do. Whether it's on Twitter, whether you come to the Discord, or if you're a company, and you're thinking about, or a person who wants to create a company or a brand or something like that, even our webpage at www.myseedstarter.com has like a raise capital section, and it's just a contact form where you fill it out and you can put some information there. So whether you contact me on Discord, whether it's on Twitter, or you go through that form and we go through email, you can find me on LinkedIn as well. But I love talking about this. So I would love to hear what people have to say or what their ideas are or what they what they think, I should focus on that I might be missing, because that's cool to hear.
You're not lacking an amount of people who want to be invested in startups, because more than 90% of those in the space are not accredited. So you've got a huge audience that I think is going to be so thrilled you're there.
Yeah, well, and I think it's the future, right? I think it's just so much untapped potential in regular people, and just non-accredited investors, the vast majority of where a vast majority of the people in the world, right, who just want to get involved and want to do things. And you see that with crypto and blockchain. That's what I love so much about blockchain, is you have this space where all these people who were traditionally blocked out from opportunity are involved and learning together and form these amazing communities. And these communities are building companies for companies, right? Companies don't even need to market as much as they used to, because now they have communities that are just marketing for free for them. And so this opportunity, bringing in the regular normal person into into the investing world and into the building world is exciting, and I can't wait to see kind of where we'll be 10 years from now. Yeah, well, I mean, what I like to imagine is, imagine you're a company and you want to raise $1 million in funding, and you find one VC who's willing to give you that million. Great, you have the funding, right? Let's say, on the other hand, you could get 5,000 people who together will give you the same million.
Mm.
You now have 5,000 people who are dedicated to your brand, who are dedicated to your company, who are invested in your success. They want to see you succeed. So that's 5,000 free people out there marketing you versus one VC. You've created this world, you've created this community of people who want to see you succeed so they can succeed with you. And that's the power of the getting the regular individuals involved in this, the non 1%. um, they are the people who buy your products often, the people who use your services, and they are the people who go out on the streets and walk their dog and talk to other people, and to see this person in the park and spread your message, and that's where businesses can really be made.
Yeah, when you think of it in those terms, why would you ever take capital from one individual when you can take capital from 5,000 and have 5,000 people around the world promoting your product? Just not comparable.
Yeah, I like to picture, I mean, there's a reason to go with a VC, right? Like, they might have great connections. If you look at like Shark Tank, somebody's going to want, you go on Shark Tank, you might want to have Mr. Wonderful invest in you because he knows all these people, or, he knows the right suppliers in this industry. But, imagine Shark Tank, where instead of, uh, where the companies come in, and instead of they're pitching to the four people sitting in chairs, they're pitching to the world, and you can sit there on your phone and invest in the companies that come right in front of you on TV. That's what it is, and that's cool, because
Mm.
it's the free marketing to the world, but also now everyone else can get involved.
I like this business model a lot, Jesse, very much. I'm
Thank you.
glad you did it.
I'm excited about it. I really am. When I first thought of it, I just like, why am I not doing this? Why is, there are companies that are doing it right now, and a few that are very successful in it, but I was very confused as to why it's just not bigger at this point. And part of me is that, the companies that are doing it well, they really have gotten the market, of early startups, but there's nobody who's really been able to merge what makes blockchain different, um, with crowdfunding. There's nobody who's really thought about the idea of, well, how do I get involved in metaverses, or how do I get involved in just blockchain associations that are looking for others. First, you have this metaverse, right, and you want others to come to your metaverse, and the best way to do that is to have others build on your metaverse. And that's the same thing where you've created your own L1 blockchain and you want others to build on your L1 blockchain. And that's how you get users, right? The more utility, the more use cases. And no company has figured out how to help get all those builders funded. right? A lot of platforms are self-funding all their builders, and they only have so much for grants. But you put a platform like Seedstarter, you put an equity crowdfunding platform in the middle, and you now have the L1 or the initial company, the Metaverse, operating, and then funding everybody who wants to operate therein, or getting funding for those companies, which then builds utility, builds use cases, which then builds the user base.
Yeah.
And nobody's found out how to do that, or nobody's even trying to do that. And that's where I'm really focusing a lot of my effort at getting myself in those positions, or getting my platform, not really myself, getting the platform in those positions to um, help those one companies that are building that one project that want others to build on top of them to get funding.
It's a form of synergy within an ecosystem that's real community based,
Yeah.
and this blockchain space has all those elements. So I think
Yeah.
that's why it's going to be very successful.
Well, I hope so. I really hope, because this could be a great thing for everybody. It could be a really fun thing for everybody. It's going to open up hopefully a lot of opportunities for a lot of people who traditionally wouldn't get funding. You could have the person down the street from you who has brilliant ideas but doesn't know the right people, could never get their business off, could never get it off the ground because they could never get funding, and now they have the opportunity to present it to, not just that one rich guy down the road, present it to everybody on the street and everyone on the block and everyone in the town, and everyone in the world. And the people who believe in you are going to fund you, and that's it's I can't contain. I know I'm good at not being like jumping up and down, but I can't contain how excited I am about this.
But I think I'm going to enjoy seeing who comes and studying new business models. That also has an exciting element to it that I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, me too. I have this thing where I tend to get bored sometimes in doing one thing over and over and over again. And that's kind of like, I was a lawyer for a while and I had my own law firm, and then I decided to go in-house with the company, and now I don't even want to be a lawyer anymore. I want to do this whole thing. And that's the thing that's so cool about this, is that, even though you're kind of doing the same thing, it's with all these different people and all these different opportunities, and you just get to learn so much. Even the issuers, the companies that want to come to my platform, I get to look at their business models, and I get to, talk to them and have these conversations and learn about what they're trying to do. And it's just like every person I talk to, I learn something new from, and it's extremely exciting.
Yeah, I have had that similar thought process in engaging in anybody who wants to talk in this space. They are bringing some incredible foresight and insights to the world and to business that is so invigorating because of the communication that you have is with people that you've never been able to even dream about having a conversation with, located in parts of the world that you've never even visited. And so it's pretty cool. This space is really, this platform, this social media platform, I think the different platforms have given brand new opportunities that enrich our lives on a very deep level.
Is you can still have this regulation and this compliance and all the, all that boring stuff, but there's a way to open it up to the world and allow people to see into these unicorn companies, and see into these, talk to the CEOs and CLOs and CMO, all those people, have those conversations. And that's what the blockchain and the communities through blockchain has really brought. And obviously social media has brought that as well. And it's just cool to like sit back and say that's not where we were, even a couple of years ago. It's just so different.
Yeah. Yeah, this space has really nurtured a lot of creative people willing to try things new and step out of the box that wasn't. They're defining what new business looks like. They're defining the future, and so that part of it is very exciting.
I would just love to hear people's perspectives, of what they think that I'm building. Look at the platform. It's limited in functionality right now, but it's intentional. It'll open up when we start to have issuers. Look at the token. Look at the royalty token that we're building, and join our Discord. Tag me on Twitter. Message me. I would just love to hear from people about what you think, concerns, what you might be excited about, and business opportunities. People have just been messaging me with all these ideas that I had never thought of, and I look at them and I say, wow, that's amazing. So yeah, I would just love to hear from everybody about what you think, good and bad. Hopefully good though.
Yeah, I think you're going to be very busy with people saying, "Hey, Jesse, what do you think about this?"
I hope so.
Yeah.
I get bored sometimes, so it works out.
Well, it's good. I think I'll have all those links to those connection points in the description of this video. And I thank you so much again for bringing this to the community and the greater community to come as you launch and grow, because it's really wonderful to see that 90% of the people who couldn't participate in the past can participate now. That's really important.